Shane Bond, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Well, it's good to be here, Scotty.
Mate, I'm not sure how much marketing we're going to talk today, but if you've tuned in for marketing, I think what you're going to get today is a bit about mindset, a bit about motivation, and a bit about leadership. So, mate, I really appreciate you taking the time. You're the fourth person from the Land and Road Academy that's actually been on the podcast, aka Papanui High. You're the fourth person. I had our first one was Richard Smith, the old teacher, the legend himself, Darren Prattley, and obviously Greg Beeman, the famous finance guy. So
yeah,
mate,
can't believe I didn't get in
it. You're an illustrious community, obviously with me coming from Papanui High as well. So mate, appreciate your time.
Great to be here, mate.
Obviously, that's where we met. We met at Papanui, and we met obviously with Belfast Rugby as well. Pretty fond days of our time playing rugby, playing cricket. What's some of the memories for you?
That's what I remember. I mean, I enjoyed school mainly for sport. That's what it was about for me. Totally. And the later I got on in school, especially at the back end of my high school, it was about playing sport on Saturday nights. Yeah. And I loved it. I mean, I've got such a great network of friends now. And yeah, I suppose that's the thing that stands out. Those enduring relationships made school so enjoyable. It's been hard case catching up over the last few years too, with your year and our year. And the friendships of all that group, right? Like how those guys and girls have stuck together, and Papanui High was a real good school. Probably had a bit of a rough rep. Definitely had a rough rep,
and it was probably a wee bit rougher rep than it probably deserved. But I just want to shout out to Bruce McDonald. I know you'll be listening to this one, but like he was our cricket coach, and we were pretty good at school. Like we punched above our weight. But it was characters like that, and Dennis McMurtry and Graham Hall that really made it enjoyable for us as young fellas.
Did turn 50 a week or so ago, and then made a drunken call to Bruce actually just to say he didn't answer. He rang me the next day, but
I vividly remember him giving catches with a helmet on because he got one off the bat and I think it hit him in the nose. But he was a real character, you know, and I guess that's what school was about, you know, like as far as that goes. But cricket, you know, for you were starting to get, you know, if people don't know who you are, which I think you're more famous in India than probably you are in New Zealand.
Probably, yeah.
I look at some of your Instagram stuff, and you're definitely more famous in India, which is cool. But cricket, as you progressed, you know, and you became an international player, but you didn't start till you were like 26, right? So where were you in between school and becoming an international cricketer?
Yeah, I think I was probably like yourself, and a whole lot of other kids had this dream to play cricket for New Zealand. Yeah. And back in the day, as you know, sport wasn't really professional. So I had this thing that I'll play cricket for New Zealand, and then once I've done that, I'll get a real job. And the job that I always wanted to be was a policeman. Yep. And so I finished high school, to be fair, was a bit lazy in terms of my training, lacked a little bit of self-confidence and self-belief, had a few injury problems, and then sort of thought to myself, well, what am I actually really going to do? So I played a little bit of first-class cricket, so for Canterbury, but never really thought I would make it. So I went back to uni. I went to uni straight out of school to be a teacher, PE teacher, only because I like PE. I bummed around in school in my last year, but went back a few years later to do property and valuation because I always liked property. And I finished my first year and did okay. And then at the same time, I sort of applied for the police because I thought my days of playing cricket were over. And then you were
around 24, 25 at that stage?
Yep. And then I got the call up at the end of my first year at uni. And so I had to make a decision. Am I going to kick on or am I going to go overseas with my then girlfriend and play some cricket, see how it goes with her? So I made the decision to go overseas, went overseas, played cricket for 6 months, had a great season, came back on our holiday over there, got called up to police college. Wow. So I went to police college, halfway through that, got engaged to Tracy. Yeah, nice. And then the rest, then I kicked into a career. And once I was working, I realized how much I loved the sport and that I probably hadn't made the most of it. So I thought, look, I'm just going to play because I love it and give it my best shot. And as it turned out, I somehow managed to get picked for New Zealand out of that, which is sort of a minor miracle. I don't think you could do that these days, but back then in a sort of semi-professional amateur day, it was sort of possible.
I don't know if I remember playing you back in those days. I remember you playing you at school and you were reasonably quick, especially on our pitches at Papanui High.
It was a shocker.
And what was the wicket that we had with concrete and carpet over the top of it? You were reasonably quick. Do you think though, like as your body started to develop a bit more, like as a man, and obviously going to police college, you probably were going to the gym a bit more and stuff like that. Did you start finding you just were getting away a bit quicker?
Yeah, I think it was just a natural maturity. Police, we used to get $5 Eagle Boys pizza and half-price Macca's, and I was eating a fair bit of that. So I don't know if it's too much about nutrition and stuff like that. But I definitely felt it. And then there was an attitude aspect of, look, I have a job, so now I'm going to try and bowl really fast. I have a son now who loves his cricket, and he's going through the same thing as me. I just want to bowl quicker. And you suddenly realise that actually you can't rush that process. So I talked to him about just going into the gym and training, all the things that I didn't do, he does.
Oh, nice.
And so then you just got to bide your time, right? It doesn't guarantee you're going to have success, but you want to get into those good training ethics, and they're just habits that set you up for life rather than anything else.
So did you start to train a wee bit harder and stuff like that for you were playing for Old Boys at the time, and then obviously for Canterbury and stuff. But you in that environment, you were around some really good players too. You think that helped your career as well?
I think, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the police you had good holidays in the police.
Yep.
And I would work sort of 4 days on, 3 days off, 10-hour shifts. So it was never easy to actually do your training. Yep. So I would do as much training as I could in and around that. When I actually finally got picked for New Zealand, I didn't think I'd be there a very long time.
Oh, wow.
So it was just enjoy the ride and see how it goes. Yep. And then Chris Cairns actually said to me, well, if you can make it to New Zealand, why don't you try and be the best bowler in New Zealand and then try and be the best bowler in the world? Wow. And I never really thought about that. I was like, are you kidding me? And then had a tour to Australia, had some success, and it's sort of the mindset flipped. Thinking,
was that the World Cup?
No, that was I played a series with South Africa and Australia one-day series, who were the two best teams in the world. Yeah. And I had a great series, and the whole thing was, shit, I'm semi-amateur, and I've had a great series. What happens if I actually put the work in?
That's cool.
So the whole mindset shifted to, okay, what do I actually have to do to be the best player? How do I go about getting a team around me? What's my plan? And then I've just got to then do the hard yards and do it.
That's so cool. We're going to talk a wee bit more about that a wee bit later, but was the fact that Ricky Ponting was playing, did that really help you? Because you kind of got him out a few times.
I think the whole time I played that great Australian team, and they were one of the best of all time, it was out of fear. There's a little bit of, I just don't want to be an embarrassment today. Yeah, true. And then, as you say, when you have some success against that lineup, you think, well, it's not going to get any harder.
No.
So then obviously put your belief through the roof. The other thing was the police was a really challenging job. It would throw you into uncomfortable situations every day that you had to deal with. And the longer I was in the job, again, it built that self-confidence. I can handle this. I can handle these uncomfortable situations and find a way through it, which is sort of what international sport's like. You walk, it's really uncomfortable, and you're sort of used to then dealing with all the pressures that go with it. So it was a good grounding for me in terms of sport.
Yeah, uncomfortable because you don't want to be seen as that failure, right, in front of all these people, but also you're playing against these guys that have been around and been in the cauldron. They know it's a pressure cooker, right? So they'll use that against you. If you look at, I just want to run through your international career here a little bit, because I think it's cool, because you said you didn't want to play, you didn't think you'd be there for a while, but 2001 to 2010, right? Nine really good years in international, 18 tests, 87 wickets. That's one hell of a strike rate, and 82 one day is at 147, and obviously played a handful of T20 games as well. What are you most proud of in that? And obviously Australia in the World Cup, you got 6 for 23, and probably the ball I always talk to people about is the one that never got me out was the one you got Gilchrist out with,
Yeah, I think I think as a player you look back and people go, do you have regrets? I go, no, I think I got the most out of my talent through sheer hard work and willpower. And the special things are always the team wins. Like we won a series in the West Indies for the first time in a test match. Beating Australia in Australia, the feeling as a unit with your mates, having watched us for years over there barely win, and we won a few games.
Yeah, truly.
They're the things that were most special. So the sort of the memories of the cricket fade into the background now. The stats tell a little bit of a story, but you also want to be known as someone who gave their best and was a good teammate and got the best out of themselves.
Yeah, and you definitely played in a good New Zealand side too, right? And you added some firepower that hadn't been seen in New Zealand cricket really. Probably the other fastest bowler that was really Heath Davis, was rapid but couldn't really, he'd sprayed everywhere, where you were the kind of the first person, because New Zealand was kind of starved of that, right? Like everyone else had the Lillys, they had the Tomos, they had the Brett Lees. We didn't really have a fast bowler, and then all of a sudden you came on the scene and you were bowling really, really fast.
Yeah, and it's probably those numbers. I didn't play enough because I got injured a lot, and that was probably a little bit of the grounding when I was younger, that I just didn't train hard enough. I didn't have the training background. I didn't have the playing background because I had a lot of back issues. And when I played, I tried to bowl as fast as I can, or as I could all the time, because that was my job in the team. But yeah, we had a good team, a lot of great guys. We probably didn't have the depth that we do now. That's why New Zealand is so good now. Yeah, much better depth, but yeah, I still great mates with those guys and had a lot of got a lot of great memories.
I remember playing. I was lucky enough to play you a few times. Well, I shouldn't say lucky enough, because you hit me in the head twice. And I remember at Hagley Park though, and we were playing you, and Kenzie was playing for us, and we had a really good side. But you had a stack side. You had you were bowling. You had Wisniewski, you had Wiseman, you had Burt, and you had a few other players that were good players. And I remember my Nana was there, and my mum was there, your mum was there. And I remember at Hagley Park, it was really hard to see out of those trees, and you were bowling fast. And I know because a few of the players in our team, a few of the senior boys started slipping down the order. And Kenzie was out there, and he was going good. And then a few people started slipping down the order, and I was like, oh, I'm getting the call up here. Yeah. So next minute, I'm out there. And I remember the first ball, and I remember Kenzie saying to me, hey, Scotty, look, you're going to have to trust your instinct. He's bowling faster than I've seen him bowl for a long time. I was like, oh, that's great. Like, I can see it from the sidelines. And I remember the first ball came through here. It hit my glove. And old Ben Yock standing like 25 back. It's gone through his gloves, and I've hit you for 4. That's what it was saying in the scorebook, right? Yeah. The next ball went through here, and I didn't see it. The next ball hit me here. And I was there, and it hit me. And I didn't feel it till like the next day. And it was just black and yellow and stuff. But I remember going down to talk to Kenzie at the end of the over, and he goes, how are you, mate? I went, my mouth was so dry with adrenaline. I couldn't talk. Yeah. And then the next over, I remember you bowled me a slow ball, and I just about hit you for 6 and went for 4. But the funny part about that is then Wisniewski comes on, and it was like seeing a balloon after seeing your rockets. But I always remember, it was so good to be able to test yourself. Well, I believe you were the best at the time, to be, and that's where Canterbury cricket was so cool. Like the players would come in and play, and it was so much fun, even though you were getting hurt and hit, and it's all part of it, right? Won't talk about the other one.
The one scar on the chin.
Scar on the chin. This can't. Glad the camera can't zoom in, because that was a goodie too. Once again, I didn't see it. That was at Old Boys, Elmer Park there. Got in, and I don't think you've ever got me out though. So
no, probably right.
No, I think I've got you out though, but we won't talk about that. Here's the thing. Now you're coaching, right? And you've had a great career, and it's awesome to hear what you're talking to your young fella Ryan about. Some of the things that you've done as a coach, though. When you start to get into that environment, what is it that you want to do in this coaching world? Because, starting to see you do some real good stuff with, you did a stint there with New Zealand as a bowling coach, then into Mumbai, and then into the Rajasthan team as well. What is it that you're looking to achieve now, coming out and creating a career in coaching?
Oh, I think it's the same as playing. You're trying to get the best out of yourself, aren't you? I just missed out on the New Zealand job, which was a real bummer. Yeah. Because I'd love to do that as the head coach. Yep. I think when I was playing, always, I suppose when you look at police, it's the same as coaching. You're sort of looking to help people. Yeah. And when I was playing as a coach, the better and better I got, there were sort of certain things that I thought there's an opportunity to do here as a bowling coach first and foremost, and then I sort of see myself as a head coach as well now. Nice. And then and then you sort of, as over time you create your own philosophy. I've been lucky; I've had opportunities to do stuff. You tweak stuff, try stuff, keep an open mind, and find sort of the things that you believe in that are your values and true to you as a coach. And then away you go. It's the same in any probably business, isn't it? You build relationships, you build trust, you're honest with people, you try to help them get better. And if you do that, doesn't matter where in the world you do it, you can be successful.
I think also you bring that strength and mindset. Like obviously you had doubt at the start of your career, but then and it's only that, with someone else telling you, hey, actually you're okay at this, and then you actually find out that you are okay. And you can see it in other people, right? So when you start to coach and you start to get around guys like Jasper and Trent Bolt at the Mumbai, what were some of the qualities you're starting to see in those players, and how do you mold people that are relatively good anyway? What are the tweaks that you're looking at?
That's a good question. One of the things I found as a player, the better I got, the less people coached me. So it almost got to a point where they're going, this guy's a world-class bowler. He just knows what he's doing.
Oh, wow.
And so you're sort of left to your own devices. My best coach was John Bracewell because he would continue to push my buttons and challenge me. Nice. And so I've always brought that philosophy in that if I'm, as a coach, if I'm not helping you get better, I'm of no value to you.
That's huge. Right?
And I just think, well, then you're redundant. And players at any point in time will want to lean on you for something. And if you offer them nothing, at some point they'll just want you out. So one of my big things when I first took the New Zealand job was I'm not going to help the least experienced players the most. It'll be the other way. Yeah. The top dogs are the ones I'm going to push the hardest. And it'll be like a trickle down effect. Yeah. If they're getting those messages, they'll then push that down to the players who are underneath them and coming through.
It's such a good philosophy because high performers have a different way of thinking. Yeah, look, you make the team, you're obviously quality, you're a good player, but there's that next level that high performer just wants to do better, wants to be better, wants to actually, and it's like this in business too. You get successful business owners want to be around other successful business owners. That's real interesting. Like my clients that are really good and successful want you to be more successful too, you know, and I think that's the kind of attitude. And I love what you said, it filters down, right?
Yep.
Because they start to see what the greats are doing. You know?
And you'd also see, and you find this with players, is because they've had a level of success, they can get stuck.
Yep.
Oh, this is the way I do things and I'm good enough. So my thing was to always try and find their blind spots or little areas of improvement. When you're talking with the best players in the world who I've dealt with, they're fine margins, but there are areas there. So you talk about someone like Boomer, it was about body language, it was about preparation. Trent Bolt to be about different fields, about angle of run up. So they're not massive things, but they're things that make a difference.
Yeah.
And you just create that relationship over time. There were certain players who it would take them 2 or 3 years to make a change when I was in IPO.
Oh, wow.
So you would persist and then they would go no, and you would just nudge. And it would be a point where they would start to struggle when they would revisit it. So it wasn't all about me trying to make an instant impact. There were certain players who it was going to take time. So it was that persistence. So in and around that, there were a couple of key things. One was I've got to stay true to the things that I believe because otherwise I'm going to get sacked as a coach at some point. Yeah. Right? So if I'm not true to what I believe, then it's just going to annoy me. I'd rather go down being who I am. And the second part was I'm not going to coach for my job. So I trust that I'm good enough at my job that I will stay in my job, or if I end up getting moved on, I'll find somewhere else to go. Yeah. So if I'm always just like ass kissing the players and being a cheerleader, I offer nothing, and players see through that. So you know,
and is that what you mean when you like what you believe in, true to your values? So some of the values that you believe in, because I think that's a real interesting for young people. And look, if you walk in our environment and here 9:15 every morning we have a stand-up meeting, right? And on a Friday we go through who we have 5 core values in the business, and everyone's allowed to bring up what they saw in a core value this week in the team, whether it was a team member, a client, or something else, right? And those values are really important to the business. And I think it's really important. Most teams need to have a set of values. You know, most teams or most that's a high performing team in there. And so I think people should have personal values as well, something that you can come back to. So for yourself, what are some of the things that you believe in when you're in your coaching environment?
Well, I think you've got to, as I said, you've got to be honest with people, honest with the players. You've got to build that trust, that relationship. You've got to bring a level of expertise.
So being honest, that means calling them out on stuff?
Yep, definitely. Yep. And I think cricket's very different these days. There's so much opportunity around the world. It's almost, I feel like sometimes it's got to the point, we talk about man management, where it's just appeasing people. Yeah. So we just want to be happy. Yeah. And happy means we don't want to be challenged. Okay. We don't want to be told certain things. Whereas I don't believe in that. I think, if you're working for someone, you got a contract with someone, then there's an obligation to work hard and push yourself.
Do you think because it's become like the likes of the T20 has become so, I guess, exploded across the world, you can go and hide and play over there and just do enough. And you go and play over there and just do enough. But if you want to play in some of these competitions, you actually have to perform, right?
And I think the biggest thing now is that it is all about just keeping everybody happy, especially in the T20 leagues. It's just, you just turn up, you allow players to do what they want to do, and as long as everybody's happy. Whereas I sort of take the mentality is no one's happy when you're losing.
No.
Right, no one, you're never happy. So what do you have to do to win? That's first and foremost. And that does take, it takes some compromise. You have to, There's some behavioural expectations. That's from both the playing perspective and coaching. And I always tell the players, look, this is my expectations of you and your behaviour, and I'd expect you to have some of me and the way I operate. So if we meet and we understand what we would expect of each other, then we're fine. And that's what I say to the players is my job is to help you. I'm not going to be able to do that without giving you honest feedback. You take that the way you want it. It's just I'm not expecting you to change. I would love you to consider it, keep an open mind, and then we can just have a chat about it. And I'm going to give you that feedback, but also expect it back. So if there's certain things I'm doing that you don't like or the way I'm behaving, then tell me.
I think that's really like setting clear expectations, having uncomfortable conversations. We call it eating, we have address the elephant, eat the frog.
Yep.
And another core value is courage over comfort, being prepared to have those conversations.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if we don't have them, we're just going to go around the issue, right? And then nothing really happens. And having clear expectations, I think, builds better trust. Actually creates a safe environment, which when someone's going through a tougher time, they can actually come to you and have a real conversation. That's where you build your depth and connection in your relationships, right?
And that's the same in the coaching group. I had a coaching group a couple of years ago with Kumar Sangakkara, and there's a analyst, Giles Lindsay, and a couple other coaches, and we would argue and go hard around what our opinions were. It would end up that Kumar and Giles would end up arguing for an hour and swap positions to each other's positions, which was weird. But the beauty was we had those robust discussions, and then Kumar was the head coach, goes, this is the way I'm going to go. And we all went, yep, sweet.
Yeah.
But the fact that we could debate it, it was robust. That to me, that was exciting. It was fun.
Totally.
Yeah, and so that's the space I like operating in, that where it's challenging. You're trying to all want to get better, hear different opinions, reflect on your own views, and because we all have natural biases, so it gets you to think a little bit more about how you think about things, which is really good.
Yeah, and also like you want to win, right? And it's interesting when you talk and listen to. I've been lucky enough to listen to Razor and listen to Wayne Smith and Gilbert Anoka a few times now, and you can tell, the All Blacks have that environment. The Crusaders have that environment where they have tough conversations. Yep. They have an expectation of each other. And it was really interesting listening to Sam Whitelight talk about how he challenged, and it was actually the young the Jason Ryan. He challenged him on his performance around being a coach, and Jason then really stepped up and is now obviously the All Black forwards coach. But those conversations sometimes they just need to be had, right?
And look, to be honest, you often don't get. I'm a reasonably strong character, so people don't want to have those conversations, and they won't give you the feedback, which means it's challenging as a coach to get better if people aren't going to give it to you straight. So when you actually get around people who will give you some feedback and tell you, as much as it stings, because it always stings the ego a bit when you get that feedback, but it's really important because as long as you self-reflect and go, okay, I can make some adjustments, then you're always getting better, and that's a good thing.
One of the greatest sayings I ever heard was, good sailors weren't made in calm seas, right? You got to go through those rough times. You've got to have a few war wounds to actually
100%,
test. And this is the thing, when you're dealing and giving this feedback as a coach now, a lot of your job would be looking and seeing. You talked about before, Jasper's his body language, right? Spotting the body language. What's the mindset? What's the chat like? That'd be a big part of your job now.
Well, the beauty is there's a lot of data, so you can present data to players that there's no hiding from.
Yeah.
This is what the numbers say. This is where the ball's getting hit. This is what it's saying. There's stuff around GPS, around how fast they run. There's so much. Yeah. My job's to narrow that into something that's worth something to the player and just presenting it going, this is what I've seen. Here's the video that aligns to it. What do you think? Yeah. I don't come and go, I'm telling you, you need to do this. No. It's like, what do you see? Yeah. And then when they can see it, they can start to consider, okay, now that you give them some time to go away and reflect on it. Yeah. And as I said, some players were like, nah, I'm happy. But after a while, you expect if a player has a fixed mindset, their performance starts to fall away. Yeah. And then players, they don't like it when they're not playing well because they know the writing's on the wall, so they will revisit it. So I had Lasith Malinga, who was at the end of his career, and I talked to him about bowling round the wicket for a couple of years, and he's like, nah, and he was really struggling. And my head coach was Mahela Jayawardena, who was a Sri Lankan, his teammate. So I said to Mahela, I've been talking to him about this. How about you have the conversation with him? And so Mahela went and had the conversation, and then Marley changed and had some success. So it wasn't about me. It's about how do I help the player. And there are different ways to do that. And as I said, some people, as a coach, you're never everybody's cup of tea.
No.
So you can't, the other thing is you can't keep everybody happy. you're going to drop people. You're not going to select people. You have tough conversations. People just don't like you. They don't connect with you.
Yeah.
So you got to find another way. Yeah. Find someone else to get that job done.
Interesting though. What did you spot that you thought, okay, he would go good around
just his arm angle was so wide. Just thought, well, how do you play a guy like that when his arm's coming from like mid on, wide? So why don't you attack someone with a different angle when they wouldn't be prepared for it?
Yeah.
And because he was so successful, he was one of the greats. Yeah. He didn't want to change. Yeah. Until he was getting pumped for a season that he thought, I've got to do something here. People will line me up. And so it took 2 or 3 years to get to that point. But once he did, then the next game he opened the bowling round the wicket. We're like, what are you doing? so it was classic.
The cool thing there, though, you obviously as well, you've got connection with the other coach. All of a sudden, those 2 guys get together, and it must be real satisfying though to see, hey, okay, maybe he did listen at some degree, right?
That's the fun part of being coach is you get to share in the players' success. You see it. You might have had some small part in it, dealing with these guys and players who have gone through the same sort of things that you have, so you can relate to it. And when they do well, it's a lot of fun to see someone have success. Yeah.
Pretty cool, like being involved in India and obviously with Mumbai, 4 titles you won. Yeah. What was some of the ethos and some of the thinking around that team, and why do you think those guys were so successful?
Oh, there was certainly an expectation to win. Yeah. So that there was an attitude.
Was that set from
that was set from the ownership?
The ownership,
hey? Yeah.
Because I watched the series that I think they had on Netflix. You could really tell the owners were hugely passionate about not only the team but what they were doing in life, and they were successful themselves, and they wanted to bring that into that environment, right?
Yeah, and they're some of the most successful people in the world. So we'd get our book around the expectations, like all the stuff I talked about before, the expectations of our behaviour. Nice. These were the expectations of the organisation. There was no doubt that we were there to win, first and foremost, so our behaviours had to reflect that in our preparation. Some years, though, we were at every training. Other years we had optional trainings, but the level of professionalism, and also the other thing that was great is we had some massive players, big players, but in terms of like batting in the nets, the guys shared time. So it was a real team and squad ethos rather than 2 or 3 players dominate, which I've been in as well, where these are the big stars and they get everything. I don't think that works. No. So as soon as you get a team ethos and everyone's just as important as each other, that fed into that as well. Then you just had those honest conversations, It didn't matter how big a player was. I remember sitting down with Rohit Sharma and him saying, tell me how you'd get me out. How would you plan against me? And he would ask those questions and we'd work through it and he'd go away. That? So it was cool, though. That sort of stuff, it lends itself to success. And then you obviously have the balance of players. You have guys you have to have those personalities, the guys who are leaders. Yep. The leadership stuff is really important. People who are going to drive it forward. And if you don't have that, we had a season this year in Rajasthan where we lacked leadership and we really struggled.
It's a great question. How do you because without the leaders, how do you spot leaders? With what you were doing now, and can you kind of tell when this person's going to be, in my leadership team?
I think you just watch what they do, their behaviors. So are they prepared at training? Do they work hard? Are they always switched on? Do they do the little things? Do they recover well? Do they go to the gym? Do they respect their teammates? Do they respect the staff? If they do those things, then it lends itself. I think everyone leads in a different ways. You have the people who stand up and speak brilliantly. Yep. You have the people who, and I was someone who I just thought I'd lead by example. I'd work as hard as anyone and I turn up and I perform and people will naturally respect that. Yep. I was probably, people might have called me selfish. I was very single-minded and driven as a player. Yep. And my ethos was always as a player was because I went out and got help, you come to me for help, I'll give you anything you want, but I want you to go looking for it because I think that's really important as a player and as a coach. You've got to go looking to get better. And then you just, all those little things about the way you carry yourself, you're whether to give, you're whether to compromise, you're whether to spit, you're prepared to speak and put your opinion out there. All those things lend itself to that leadership.
Yeah. And having leaders in a group so important, right?
Huge.
I definitely see, we have a couple of things that we do here as our own at moment on a Wednesday, and like leaders definitely will mention other people.
Yep.
And it's really obvious when a leader, starts to talk because they really, really talk about other people. There's never any I in good leaders. It's we did this, or that person did it. They put the focus on the other person and they're there to help. But you're right, other people help in other ways, which is really, really cool.
Well, it's unique cricket because it's one person as the captain, whereas I always felt like the captain can't be everything to everyone.
No.
So the team around him is just as important. So I look at it as being the assistant coach. which I've been for a long time, is I still lead, but I'm not in the absolute position but I'm still in a leadership role where I can really help people and drive stuff through the team, which is all fed down from the head coach. But that doesn't mean because I'm not the person in charge, doesn't mean I can't be a leader.
Well, you can also act like a leader too, and act like the head coach, even though you're not there. Like what when you look at being a head coach, why is it that you want to be the head coach now? Though, like you've obviously had success as a bowling coach, had success as an assistant. And obviously, the obvious next step is to be the head coach. But what is it about it for you?
Oh, I think it's my personality. Like you do, and you might have done all these personality profiles. One of my real strengths is strategic and overarching. So I've been around the game long enough. I have a really clear idea of how I want to play the game and everything that sits in and around that and under it. So I've had head coaching experience in different franchises, and the beauty was going into those teams, it would be right. This campaign, I'm going to let the guys do all their own warm-ups, or I'm going to have optional trainings, or I'm going to keep the meetings shorter. So it was like trial and error. So I didn't just go in and do the same thing. No. What I did is I don't really believe in this, but I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see whether I'm right or wrong. And you do it, and I'd go, nah, I actually don't rate that. So you sort of end up formulating, here are the core values for me as a coach. Now it's just wanting to have the chance to implement them. And I think it's really important it's easy to sit in the second seat also and go, oh, you should be doing this, should be doing that as the leader. It's really different when you're in that seat. So if you get the chance to sit in the hot seat, you have a very different view of the world. And you also, because I'm an assistant and have done for a long time, as a head coach, I really appreciate my assistants, and I know what's important to them, giving them a voice, giving them the opportunity to speak, trying to get their development to get to a point where they get the opportunity to sit in my seat one day when I move on.
That's really important. That shows leadership right there. And I'm a massive believer in this. Even in our business, we're building leaders. We want people stepping up. We're fostering them to grow and giving them opportunities all the time because that's what you want as a person, right? You want someone to take the mantle on, right? New Zealand cricket, obviously you missed out on that, and obviously that sucks, right? Like you obviously wanted it. But how do you pick yourself up from a disappointment like that? Is it pity patty for a couple of days and move on, or you just reset your goals and focus again?
Yeah, it was like grieving because the team's been part of my life since I was 6 years old. So you work to this goal and you think you're ready, and then you miss out. It's like, well, I had half a day, I reckon, of about self-pity, and it felt like grief more. And then it was like, well, as I tell my kids who are playing, there's certain things that sit outside of your control.
True.
There's nothing you can do about it. So you've just got to work harder, get other opportunities, and your time can come again. So that's the thing is now, okay, how do I get other opportunities? I think I've got a good reputation as a coach. And that time could come again, and I've just got to be ready for it. So, and that's the beauty, I suppose, is having two kids who are sporty, and the messages I'm feeding them, I've got to reflect back on myself as well. Oh, so it's it's the same. I'm saying these things to the kid, or here's a chance for me to mirror that behavior for them.
That baby, because if you don't, they're going to pull you up on it. Right?
And they should.
I said to my son Louis, life rewards effort, and he said it back to me the other day. I was like, okay, that is just the kids are there to put a mirror on those things as well. I did say to you when we briefly caught up at your birthday, stay in the queue. Because here's the thing, I think that's where opportunities do come from. Staying in the queue, things come around, things have a weird way of doing stuff. And I remember missing out on a job once, and I just come back from overseas, and I missed out on this job at Bond and Bond. And I was like, oh, I don't care. I was back from overseas, and I was probably just about to start playing cricket again. And then they rang me up and said, oh, we want 2 weeks later, and I still didn't have a job. And they rang me up and they come back in. So I went back in, and the guy sat me down. He said, right, you didn't get the job. Here's why. You came across like you didn't want it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'd never
good feedback.
I'd never heard that before, right? And I was like, you know what? If I was honest with myself, I didn't want it. I didn't want it. But at the time, 2 weeks later, I needed the money. I've been overseas for 3 years, so I wanted this job. And I was like, oh yeah, well, sorry that came across. He goes, well, good news. The guy we employed in front of you, he didn't like the job, so it's your job. 3 years later, I'm there. I'm one of the top 3 in New Zealand selling TVs, microwaves, you name it. But the lesson never left me, mate. And anything I wanted from then on, I've made sure people knew that I wanted the job. or wanted something, and it was a really good lesson to get, in my 20s about that. So, mate, I just believe, you want it enough and you stay in the queue, especially the way New Zealand cricket is up and down over the years. You never know, like opportunities do come.
Well, that's the word, is opportunity, right? And you listen to podcasts and stuff, and very successful people will say just take opportunities, take them when they come, whatever it may be. You can. It's easy to look down your nose at it, and having 2 teenage kids now you'll say, why don't you go and work at McDonald's? Or I don't want to do that. That's what we did back in the day. And you take those opportunities, and I know people have started working at certain organisations at McDonald's and end up owning them. And so you just never know where it leads. You've just got to take those chances when they come, because one thing can lead to another.
And also, as you say, you've got a reputation, and I think that's the key as well. A good reputation of a person that you've got success behind you, you've got experience behind you, and someone's going to come knocking and go, hey, you know what, hey, can you help us out? Cool to see, New Zealanders around the world are valued in the cricket arena. Like, we've got a number of coaches doing really well in that environment too, right? So, which is exciting. Where do you see the most exciting part about cricket and where it's going? Because I just see America. I was talking offline before with a couple of guys I do some business with in the States, and Pakistani boys, they just love cricket. And you can see cricket starting to evolve globally in some of these other areas.
Yeah, I had the chance doing Major League Cricket, which was pretty cool, because America's a great place, and there's a huge expat community. It's it's in an interesting stage. You've got the clash between sort of franchise and country, which I suppose when you look at football, football's all club-based with World Cups, and cricket perhaps is heading down that path. There's so many opportunities from players and coaches all over the world because of all these leagues that pop up. So for me, it's good, because there are more chances and to get certain roles. You obviously had live golf, but there's perhaps cricket. Saudi Arabia are sniffing around cricket because it is a global sport. So no one really knows where it's going to go. In terms of New Zealand, they're talking about Big Bash, and they've bought a team in America, so they're reaching out. They see the opportunities. So I'm sort of lucky I'm in a game where there will be opportunities, hopefully, if I keep doing my job right. But it's like anything. The key thing is just not to stand still.
No.
Like, you just got to keep learning and pushing and being curious and doing all those things, and having those people around you give you feedback. It's really important.
You pinch yourself a little bit, like you're doing something that you really love.
Oh, it's mad. I'm lucky every day. There's been times when I worked with Mumbai, the Ambanis were some of the richest people in the world. Their 35-story skyscraper. We'd be doing treasure hunts around it. We're in these amazing suites and in the UAE drinking amazing whiskies, and you're sort of going, how did I end up here? Then you go, well, you need a little bit of luck, but you also have worked hard for it. And there's no guarantee you can end up there, but all you can do is, as said, just try and be consistent in the way you approach things, consistent in who you are, be good at what you do, because I think you need a level of expertise. And if people respect that and like you, then opportunities come knocking.
I was talking to one of my young fellas the other day about this, in the office here. He said, what do I have to do? And I said, mate, you master something. Get good at something. Get good at one thing that you're really good at, that you can hang your hat on. And he's a good videographer. And I was like, mate, get really good at that. Don't just put the blinkers on for a bit. Focus on it. And I think that, once again, life will reward that effort at the end of the day. Who are some of the characters that you played with that you always remember? And I know one that comes to mind back in our day was Mike Nebo.
Oh yeah.
What a character. But
detective, my God.
No, but like even in rugby, there's some characters that we played with. I think that's the beautiful thing about sport. You meet some really cool people. What are some of the guys and girls that come to mind for you?
Oh, there's a couple guys like Aaron Redmond and Neil Broom, who I played with a lot. Went on A tours, played for New Zealand with them. The sort of guys who, when you're on a bus, wherever they're sitting on the bus, there's laughter around. They're funny without trying to be funny. They're just great storytellers. They're always doing some stupid stuff a lot of the times, but they're great company.
Yeah, I captain Ridders at Lancaster, and like there was never a dull moment. Like it was a hard case.
And that's the people. I mean, I've got great mates from New Zealand cricket. Jacob Oram, who's the current bowling coach, Daryl Tuffy. We went through the academy together. We've got the same sense of humour. They're just fun to be around. And when you're in a high pressure environment, which you are, when you become experienced, you forget. I sort of forgot about it but you are under pressure all the time. Having people around you who can make things light and fun is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think, you can try to manufacture it through team building, but ultimately it's having those connections with people that take the pressure off, or people who can give you the feedback or can talk to you, but you can just relax and have a laugh with and forget about stuff.
Yeah, they can see you.
For you.
Maybe, under pressure as well. And also, quick word here, quick word there, and you're back on track, but also having some fun, because like that's what it should be about, right?
Yeah. And I think the one thing with, I suppose, in our sport at the moment is people are going, when you get together, we just want to have fun. And it ultimately, when you're in business or in work, the first thing is you want success, because success is fun.
Totally.
If you're succeeding, if you're making money, if your business is going well, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
The fun can come through those connections and getting good people around you. And that I think if you're just trying to have fun, if your business is tanking, it ain't fun.
No, because all these other pressures come on.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And then all of a sudden, and it's the same in that sporting world, right? And I guess the pressure to perform. How do you deal with that pressure to perform in those environments now?
I don't think, as I said, I don't coach for my job. I do the things, just do my job as well as I can. As a coach, it's outside of your control. I've got a daughter who's trying to make the Canterbury hockey team and under 21 New Zealand team. And my son wants to play cricket, and she's struggling with the expectations of stuff. And he's, it's trying to go control what you can control. It's not about talent. It's about effort. You need a little bit of luck, and there's no direct line to success. Yeah. It's going to come in waves. You're going to get injured. You're not going to get selected, but you got to have some grit. You got to hang in there. Yeah. You got to be persistent. And look, if you give it your best shot and don't make it, that's not failure. No, you just weren't good, and you'll be able to live with that. That's okay. And you need a little bit of luck along the way. I got my opportunity through someone else getting injured. Yeah, and that's going to happen. So
I find it really interesting too, because I played with some players, and I was okay at cricket. I wasn't that good, But I played with some players, and I was like, man, you are better than most I've seen, but you don't put it in. You don't have the attitude. You don't put it in. You don't actually work that hard, and then you see this player come up, another player come into, and I thought this other guy was better than that guy, but this guy obviously has a better attitude, and you're right, it's not just about talent.
Well, that's the hardest thing as a parent, because I said to Ryan, like, if you want to, and same as Katie wants to make it, if you really want to make it, you need to be pushed. So I'm going to push. Yeah. So I was on Ryan's case all the time. Go to the gym. Yep. Now he just goes. Yeah. So I don't have to say anything now. He just go. And Katie's like now it's about little things like recovery and nutrition and I'll push. Fine line between being the really pushy parent, but I think everyone just needs that kick in the bum. Yeah. Like just that little bit of a shove now and again. I certainly didn't get it when I was younger, but I needed it. Yeah. And so I'm doing it from. And that's what I say to my players is when I'm challenging, you call it challenging or pushing you, it comes from a place of care. Yeah. Because I want to see you achieve what you want to. Yeah. And it's and if I push and I challenge and you don't do it, that's okay, but you have to live with it, not me. Yeah. So you have to live with the decisions you make. If you want to take shortcuts and don't make it, then it's on you.
You think though the spotlight is a lot harder these days on these players because of not only social media, but all that data, as you say, right? Like there is kind of nowhere to hide, and if you're not putting in the work, you can get found out quite quickly.
I think the social media is a bigger one. I mean, you go online about anything and people just talk shit about people. Yeah. And I don't know why anyone would want to go online and abuse people about anything, to be honest.
They'll never say it to your face.
They'll never say it to your face. So I think you got to have the ability to turn that off. Or if you're going to read stuff, just read the positive stuff. Yeah. Outside of that, then you go, well, it's an interesting one. Like the pressure of playing for your country or whatever team, it's like a privilege in some respects. Yeah. You've earned to get there. I'd rather have the pressure of playing for my country than never have felt it. Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing, is it's just part and parcel of what's going to come, and that's the thing with your kids. You're going, this is just what you're going to deal with forever. You've got to get used to dealing with it and try and somehow put it out of your mind. And stuff like Gilbert and Kerry Evans talked about expectation, consequence, scrutiny, those things. So if you can manage that and manage all those things, then you can be successful.
Yeah, and it's great to see when obviously kids, they don't listen to you all the time, but when they do listen. Or something just goes, like he's now going to the gym, and obviously, it's pretty cool that he can have you in his corner, because like at the end of the day, how much better would you have been if you've had someone just nudging you along?
That's exactly right. And he's going through the same thing all his mates are. Yeah. They're all trying to score runs. They don't know how. They're under the pump, they're feeling the pressure when they go out there, and it's just part of it's just part of developing as a player. When you go to India, they play all year round, like non-stop. So over here, you have the balance is better. Over there, it's relentless cricket. And their development, we had a guy who was 14 in our team score 100
right?
this year,
100 this
14, 100 years. And you're going, their development is so much faster. So by 19, they're almost the finished product.
Wow.
Whereas for us, as a batter, you're probably 25.
Yeah, how do you score 100 in an adult kind of game? Well, probably not now. When you're 14, like, is he a man child? Is he?
He's a baby face. He's a probably slightly overweight, lovely kid whose dad has just taken him to the nets since he was 6 years old. He's
balls at him.
School's sort of taken a back seat.
Yeah.
And so, there's plenty of stories of that happening that doesn't work out. He's the one that it does. So I always think the balance around academics and sport's really important.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show through pure work and time and obviously needed some ability, he's made it. The amazing thing for me about India is you've got kids who, if they don't, cricket is all the opportunity they'll ever have.
Yeah.
So if they don't make it, they may have nothing. And so you have these kids who come from absolutely nothing. And I used to talk to Booms about this, Jasper Bumrah, and say, I always wanted a pair of Nikes when I was a kid and my parents could never afford it. So I never had any labeled clothing, nothing growing up. And that was fine. And he was the same. He always wanted Nike bowling shoes, but his mum could not afford the shoes for him. So now to see someone like him who's super wealthy because of the way, best player in the world, we come from similar backgrounds, is going, that's pretty cool, But they deal with that pressure. The pressure of this is my only opportunity. Yeah.
Crazy though to think, and I'll look at some players and you like, how do you coach his action, and the way Steve Smith bats, but you can't, right? So he gets found in India, he obviously comes up and like, if that's just not in the coaching manual, that the way he bowls, right? But what a player.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you're not trying to make everybody the same, and that's the same as personalities. You're trying to make them the best versions of themselves, but ultimately as you move up, it's about your mental strength.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, and same as business, you've got a level of ability, then you've got to have the mindset to cope with the pressure, to be able to deliver when you need to. Great
place. We'll just look to wind up, but that mindset, where do you galvanize your mindset now? Because you're in a pressure cooker. How have you strengthened your mindset? Who do you lean on when it comes to that side of your game?
Yeah, I've got a couple of people who I seek feedback from who are good at giving it to me. I think I've been around long enough. I'm confident in my own ability now, and I think I project that. And I think I've always been a believer that even if you might not completely know what you talk about, if you project that you do, people respond to it. Even as a player and as a coach, when I'm working with staff, those who struggle are indecisive. Yeah, because instantly you're going, I don't believe you. No, you're not giving me confidence. So if you say something with conviction, and I'm well prepared, I do my work, I've got a level of expertise, and I deliver it with confidence and conviction. People got something to lean on. And then I always say that, look, if I deliver this bowling plan or I deliver this and it's not right, I'll own it. Yeah, like I'll put my hand up and say I got it wrong. Yeah, again, and then it just takes the pressure off the athletes I'm dealing with.
I love that though, like having like the commitment, the confidence around that strategy, right? Being strategic, because sometimes I always say to people, you don't have to believe in yourself right now, right? You just have to believe in someone else believes in you, right? So I believe in you. You might not have that conviction right now, but we're going to go on this journey and I believe in you. And that's kind of what you're saying there. Look, hey, you know what? I'm bringing this to the party, because a lot of times commitment to the strategy is just as important as the strategy, right? And getting people focused on this, where we're going. And I think that's where Razor Robinson's been so good at it, how he builds a vision, and even in our business this year, we have it, own it and elevate it. It's all about this year. It's all about owning your role and elevating your role. And everyone from the start of the year has looked at their role and taken it to another level and elevated it. And I think, having that small little thing that people are galvanized in and around, we're going to bowl this way, guys, and here's why we're doing it, and having that level of confidence, I think, because you made a great point. And this is one thing I really want to get across to people, especially in harder economies, you have to be decisive.
Yep.
If you're not, guess what? Other people are going to cut your lunch, and they're going to take your market share.
And I always say this, the two things players, and it's probably the same as staff will whinge about, is clarity and communication.
Yeah.
So if you don't communicate well, they don't like it. And if you're not clear about the messaging or what you want, they don't like it.
Yeah.
So if you've got a level, like you talked about, you've got a level of expertise about something, and the expertise helps you be clear. it's like a game plan. If I've done my homework and I'm really clear about the way I want to play, it helps me deliver it in a way that's really clear to my players. And then it's my ability to communicate then. Now, if I'm clear and obviously the ability to communicate is easier if you're clear about what you're going to do anyway. So it's like they work together. So if I can deliver that with some confidence, those 3 C's, then people will go, okay, I know what's expected of me now. Now, if they then go out and deliver that, if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like it didn't work, then it's my job to pivot. If they do deliver, if they do deliver it, I'm pretty confident it'll be successful.
Totally. And it didn't work this time.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's all. You got to give it some time.
Some time, right? Okay, we'll try that again. Let's just do it. Make a tweak on that. Mate, this has been really good. I've got 2 things on leave with though. Australia, under 18 Belfast team. We played. We played some huge humans. I think they thought we were some really good All Black rugby team, but we were the Belfast under 18s or under 17s. Who scored the try?
My first, I remember I stopped playing rugby and came on as a winger and intercepted a
try and scored.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. Here we are getting thrashed. I think it was 70 something. And this kid comes on, hasn't been playing, intercept. You played halfback for ages.
I did, yeah.
And then you hadn't been playing, and you intercept the ball and score. And it was our only
one of the great regrets, giving up rugby, and then obviously over the winter didn't do any training, so lost the fitness, then got injured. Dumb.
And then the next one I remember from that trip is me and you were on that roller coaster. I vividly remember being at Dreamworld and we were going up this roller coaster and it was going click, 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 click. And we both got up to the top and I remember you looking at you and you said to me and I said to you, what the hell are we doing here? And I think I had my eyes closed for the rest of that trip. Down on that roller coaster.
I think that was before we went on the Vomitron, didn't it?
So some great memories though, like of those days, and I really cherish our friendship. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know we didn't talk about marketing, which hey, for a lot of people today, you probably got a lot more out of this conversation if you go back and replay it around the mindset, around leadership, around what it takes to be successful. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Anytime.
Obviously, window of opportunity. That you have. Where are you off to next?
Not sure. Maybe I'm going on a 50th birthday holiday. No, it's not so bad. That's pretty good. Yeah, there's 23 of us from school going to Italy for some time together. And then maybe the Emirates over Christmas. Yep. Yeah, it's been as I said, went all in on the NZ job, so it's going to be a slightly quieter year and hopefully get a lot busier next year. So yes, and in that position where you've got feelers out there to do certain things, and you look at those opportunities like I was talking about. Well,
I know there's a couple of young teams will probably love having you in around probably the St Andrews.
I go and coach there as much as I can, help Ryan and his mates out, so it keeps you grounded, and you can have a huge impact. It's not all about just dealing with the best, but I also believe you want to put back. There's certain coaches around town who catch up for a little bit of mentoring and you offer advice, and that's fun because... Is that something you do now as well, is coaching other coaches, like there's some young coaches coming through and stuff and you get involved? Yeah, it's a combination, and that's the good thing is if people are prepared to reach out, I'll always help. So you get friends or... I've got mates who've got friends who reach out because their kid wants some help, and I'll always go and help. That's because they ask. So you sit down, you might be just talking about building a plan. You might talking about just going down to the nets and offering some tips. Same with some coaches, just sit down about where some areas of focus. So as I said, I think, and I always say to players, is if you're prepared to ask, most people are prepared to help. People helped me along the way. So it's for me, it's my time to help. And said going to Ryan's school and throwing some balls to his mates in the nets and see them, and it might make a small impact by giving them some. It's just as fun as seeing one of the best players in the world have some success.
You never, always never underestimate. I always tell people, never underestimate the impact you have on other people.
100%.
Could be one word. Could be one look. Could be that, hey, I believe in you. And that's why I love coaching kids. We'd set little goals and hey, I believe in you today. Today's your day, and all of those little things that because they might have a parent that never says that to them, right?
That's right.
You could be the person in their day. When you're just talking about kids, then when do you think, as a kid, like playing cricket, when do you think they should be starting to, be a bit more serious about what they should be doing as a bowler, especially if you're a bowling kind of?
It's a great question. We're going, obviously, there's a lot around the balance is better. Yeah. I remember one of my earliest experiences was Hagley over in the primary schools team. You would have played in the Canterbury or the South Island primary schools tournament. And we turned up, had a whole week of cricket there, played against the likes of Chris Gaffney, the umpire, Anton Oliver, All Black captain, Ryan Nelson, football, all these great athletes. Had a great week. My hero, Richard Hadley, was there, met him, and that really grabbed me, having made that team. Now they've removed a lot of that stuff. Now these rep teams and stuff, and I really... it disappoints me. I think part of your journey as a player is the missing teams, making teams, but getting those experiences at a really young age to hook you in to a sport. And I think the important thing is not only you might very tiny percentage will go on and play for New Zealand, but if you hook people in, they'll be a volunteer, they'll be a coach, they'll be a manager. And it's really important, I think, by removing some of that, especially in our sport, and hockey's another one, my daughter, then it's a real risk of not creating that little bit of grit. Whereas other sports like basketball and football, basketball's really growing. They're grabbing kids from sports like netball because they're giving them opportunities. They're putting their hooks in. So look, I think it's like anything. If you play the guitar or you're serious about your studies, you start young. And there's no reason why you can't dream from a young age to make it. And I dreamt since I was 6 to play for New Zealand.
Do you ever envisage the day where you could see a Kiwi playing at 14?
No, never. No chance.
That's what I kind of think. Like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy how like a 14-year-old can be there, and all kudos to him and his family. I think it's fantastic because the kid can bat. He's there because he's there. Like
he's incredible. Yeah.
But I just think obviously we have that in New Zealand but where some of these sports they've removed that. I seen it. I was like, oh, you don't have that team anymore. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, what do they play for? Like,
this notion of play. I mean, we're all competitive. Kids love to win. They don't really care if they win or not, but they want to play for something. And in the end, you end up making rules because you get a couple of coaches or parents who behave like dickheads. And you see it sort of end up making rules. And I think it's really important that you need competition. You need to be able to play for something. You need to learn how to fail. Then you need those conversations afterwards. It's never going to be perfect, but they're the things that hook people in.
When you're at the top of your run-up, was there one thing that you used to say to yourself?
Yeah, just head still, and just breathe. That's pretty much. It was really interesting when I played because I was a massive trainer. My confidence came from preparation. Oh, wow. So I was very nervous before games. That's why as a coach now I don't like long warm-ups because I found it just an energy sapper. But my most comfortable part was standing at the top of the mark. I was like, I'm ready for this.
Because you've done the work.
Because I'd done the work. So success was never. When I got it, it wasn't like it was luck. It was like I'm ready for. I deserve it. So, and I think that's the sort of stuff you're trying to instill in your players is do all the preparation. Success will come. That's just a matter of time.
That's very cool. Great place to lead, mate. Do the work, right? Like actually do the little things and do the work. No matter what environment you're in, if you're in sport, business, or whatever, go and do the extra work. What it takes to, because at the end of the day, when you need to perform, you perform.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
good. You're on a bigger stage. You're bowling to Ricky Ponting, and all of a sudden, wickets are flying. Hey, Shane, this has been fantastic. Really appreciate you coming on. Where does the New Zealand or any other cricketing person around the world get hold of you for coaching jobs?
Through my agents, probably. Yeah. And usually, New Zealand's 1 degree of separation. So usually I'll get a call from a mate, say, can you come and help someone out?
Yeah, can you come and coach me?
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, mate. Hey, appreciate your time and all the best. No doubt in the years to come, I'll be sitting there at Hagley Park and you'll be the head coach for cricket.
Thanks, mate.
All right, take care. Hey, guys, one thing I need you to do, share this podcast. If you've got a young person that needs to listen to maybe a bit more motivation or a bit more insight on what it takes to be a world-class player, share this podcast with them and share it out on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. And obviously we'll put some more details in the show notes, etc. But I really appreciate you taking the time to listen today. Till then, I want you to have some fun. Go have fun, take action, and always celebrate your victories.